Hello, friends. Welcome to Political Science and International Relations. In this video, I am going to help you understand and master the subject political science easily. The key in mastering political science is to first master political theory. If you master political theory, you can easily master other areas like comparative politics and international relations. In fact, these three areas are the important ones within the overall subject political science. Political theory, comparative politics, and international relations. Many students tend to start the other way around. They will start with international relations or comparative politics. Such an approach will make the studying of the subject very difficult. So you have to start with political theory. Within political theory, there are six important key concepts. You have to master the six key concepts first. This will help you master political theory, which in turn will help you master the subject political science. The six key concepts are liberty, also called freedom, justice, rights, equality, democracy, and power. A student of political science should know the basic meaning of these concepts, how these key concepts are associated with each other, what are the philosophies and ideologies associated with these concepts, and the scholars, important scholars associated with these concepts. Apart from this, a student of political science should be able to analyze these six key concepts from two dimensions. One dimension is procedural and the other dimension is substantive. So if you are able to correlate all these, you will master the subject political science. I am able to see many students struggling with the subject. But if you understand the correlation between the key concepts, this will make the subject very interesting and easy. Okay, friends, now I will explain the relationship between these six key concepts within political theory. I call this as the political grid, the six key concepts and the correlation. The grid is nothing but political science. I tell my students to master the grid. If they master the grid, they will master the subject political science. Questions in examination will largely be indirect and analytical. Questions may be centered around scholars such as John Rawls, Plato, Aristotle, Karl Marx, philosophy such as feminism, communitarianism, people's democracy, and so on. If you master the grid, you can write answers in an analytical manner and in a comprehensive manner. Okay, friends, let's study the grid first. What is this grid called? This is a political science grid. The grid is nothing but the subject, political science. Under the grid, you are going to associate the six key concepts and we are going to interrelate them based on procedural and substantive. I want all of you to note this down. Please draw the political science grid. liberty, equality, rights, justice, democracy, and power. We are not going to study all these concepts in detail now, but you have to understand the meanings briefly. You have to associate them, interrelate them, and establish the grid. Analyzing based on the two dimensions, substantive and procedural. You have to bring in the scholars, you have to bring in the ideologies and philosophies, you have to look into these 6 key concepts from individual point of view and society point of view. Okay friends, I first want you to understand the meaning of the key concept liberty. Liberty in general means a individual should be free of all restraints within a society. This concept is called liberty. Liberty is also called freedom. Freedom is more of a philosophical term. Liberty is more of a political and legal term. So, absence of restraints is called liberty. What is restraint? If a person is controlled by another person, if a person is not allowed to live as per his or her wish, then it is said that certain restraints are being imposed on him or her. But if you want to have liberty, there should not be any restraints. In simple words, you should be free. This is called liberty. I hope you have noted down. Second concept is equality. Equality refers to the situation where we create social, economic, and legal conditions in which all individuals in a society will be able to live equally worthwhile and satisfying lives. This is called equality. Equality does not necessarily mean absolute similarity between all individuals in a society. It is a philosophy. It tells that social, economical, and legal conditions should be established in which all human beings in a society can live a decent life. By decent life, I mean a equally worthwhile and satisfying life. This concept is called equality. Third concept is called justice. To summarize, liberty means absence of restraints. You have to be free. Equality, social, economic, and legal conditions which enable you to live a worthwhile and satisfying life. Coming to justice, justice refers to fairness, righteousness, morality, distinguishing between right and wrong. This is called justice, being just, right? But justice is not about morality alone. It is not about just finding what is right and what is wrong. It is not just about righteousness or fairness. It is something even more. Justice also refers to the distribution of rewards. It is about giving people what they are due. This is also justice. For example, a hard worker, his due is wage. A successful soldier, his due is a promotion to a higher post. Similarly, what is due for a murderer? Punishment is due for the murderer. Death sentence may be the due for the murderer. This concept is called justice. Fourth is rights. In the ancient period, the concept of rights was largely seen in the negative sense. It was seen through privileges. The king had privilege, the ruling class had privilege. The common people, they were not considered equal to the ruling elite. During the ancient period, the rights were seen in the negative sense. If you are not a slave, if you are not beaten, if you are not jailed, if you are not treated like an animal, then this itself was seen as rights during the ancient period. So ancient period, concept of rights was seen in the negative sense. It was seen through power and privilege. But in the modern period, rights as a concept is seen in the positive sense. In the modern period, rights are seen as the entitlement to act or to be treated in a particular manner. This is called rights. You are a citizen of India. You are entitled to move freely throughout India. What is this? This is the entitlement to act. Is it not? Entitlement to act. You are entitled to follow any religion. Nothing but entitlement to act. You are entitled to marry anyone of your choice. Entitlement to act. You are entitled to follow any profession. You are considered equal by the state, regardless of your sex, religion, caste, or creed. This is entitlement to act. Similarly, the entitlement to be treated is also seen as a right. The Indian state has to treat everyone as equals. This itself is a right. It is a fundamental right. Right to equality. So this is how you see rights in the modern period. Fifth concept is democracy. The term democracy is a combination of two words, kratos and demos. Demos means many or the people. Kratos means power. In simple words, democracy means rule by the people. A state governed by the will of the people is called a democratic state. Democracy was seen differently during the ancient period. Scholars like Aristotle and Plato did not consider democracy as a good form of government. Aristotle considered democracy a mob rule. Plato hated democracy because his guru Socrates was killed by the democrats in ancient Greece, Athens. According to Plato and Aristotle, democracy is nothing but the rule of many people who may not have proper virtues. Without virtues, if you allow many people to rule, then the state will not be an ideal state. This is the ancient conception of democracy. Democracy was seen in the negative sense during the ancient period. But in the modern period, democracy is seen through the positive sense, like rights. In the modern period, democracy is seen as plural rule or the rule by the many. So many people are coming together and they are ruling the state by consent. This is called democracy in the modern sense. Countries like India are democracy. The last concept is power. What is power? Power is seen as the ability, strength, or domination. This is the general meaning of power. But from a political science point of view, we have to look at power more intricately. Power refers to the ability of an individual or a group to enforce their will on others. If a person is able to achieve his or her interest, even in the face of resistance by other individuals, then he or she is said to possess power. This is the view of scholars regarding power. Max Weber held such a view. According to Max Weber, the state itself is seen as an entity which has a monopoly over power. Robert Dahl, this political scientist, told that power is the ability of one person to force another person to do something which he will not normally do. Assume that you are the person. There is another person. Let's say he is your enemy. You are forcing your enemy to bow before you, to obey you. In normal circumstances, another person will not bow down before another person, is it not? But if you have the ability to forcibly make him bow before you, then you are said to possess power. So this concept is called power. Power is a very important concept in political science and international relations. So I have explained the basic meaning of the 6 key concepts in political science. I hope you have noted them down. Now we will draw the political science grid. This is very important. You have to listen carefully. Please keep in mind the 6 key concepts. All of them are dynamic in nature. There is no agreed definition or meanings attributed to the 6 concepts. So they are essentially contested. Never forget. If you are a student of political science, this should be the starting point of your analysis. 6 key concepts, they are dynamic. Okay? They are viewed from different periods of time differently. They are viewed by different scholars differently. They are viewed by different philosophies differently. Different meanings are attached in different circumstances. So they are seen as dynamic concepts. And they are essentially contested. This is how we are viewing the 6 key concepts. Secondly, the 6 key concepts themselves are related to each other. For example, if you take the concept democracy, you have to study how powers works within democracy, how rights work within democracy, how justice works within democracy, and how liberty and equality works within the institution democracy. If you take justice, you will study how rights are seen within the concept of justice. You will study how equality is studied within justice. Similarly, if you take equality, you will find how justice, rights, and power are studied and analyzed within equality. So the 6 concepts are related to each other, they are associated with each other. Apart from this, the 6 concepts should be studied across 2 larger dimensions. One is procedural and the other is substantive. Please note it down. Procedural and substantive. Based on these 2 dimensions, we will now fit in the scholars and philosophies. But first you have to understand the meaning of procedural and substantive. This is the starting point of analyzing the rest. Okay, what is procedural? Procedural, as the name implies, is related to procedure, rules, law, this is called procedural. So procedural is more associated with formal, right? On the other hand, substantive is more broad based compared to procedural. Substantive comes from the term substance. Substantive is related to morals, it is related to values, it is related to the result, it is related to fairness. Let me explain a simple example. Assume that a running race is being conducted by a school. 10 children are going to take part in the running competition, running race. But only 5 children are physically normal and strong. The rest 5 are physically weak. They are not normal. They are malnourished. If you go by procedural, then it is accepted. It is just to ask all the 10 students to start from the same line. Why? You go by procedure, you go by rule, you go by law. I am asking all 10 students to bend down and I am asking them to start running the moment once the whistle blows. They have to cross the same distance. This is procedural. A scholar supporting procedural aspect will say that the running race has been conducted properly. On the other hand, a scholar who follows the substantive tradition or the substantive school of thought will call such a running race as inappropriate. He will not accept that running race as moral because only 5 children are strong. They are normal, they are nourished. The rest 5 are malnourished. They cannot be considered as equals with the other 5. So, you have to look into the moral. What is the moral? Only 5 are equal, the rest 5 are not equal. Got it? I have to take into account the result. Now the winners will come from the top 5. The rest 5 malnourished may even fail to complete the race. They may not even cross the finish line. So procedural is about rule, regulation and formality, but substantive is about moral, it is about fairness, it is about the result. So this is the basic difference between procedural and substantive. You should understand the difference between the two dimensions very clearly. This will help you study the subject much stronger going forward. Right? Procedural is taking into account the moral worth and the personal worth of man. Okay? Each man is moral. We have to respect each man. Is it not? This is called moral worth. Similarly, this is called personal worth. Personal worth is decided based on your attributes like intelligence, physical strength, your mind, your virtues, and so on. Plato considered personal worth. He took virtues into account. So did Aristotle. On the other hand, substantive takes into account moral worth of mankind itself. mankind as a whole is treated a moral entity. You got it? For example, a scholar following the procedural uh, dimension or the procedural school of thought will tell that a better talented man can earn as much money as he can without any limit, because he is taking into account the moral worth of the individual only. He respects the individual, he is also respecting the other individual, but he may go by the personal worth. A talented man is considered more worthy. So, all individuals are respected equally, but at the same time, the worth is also taken into account. Now, the scholar following the procedural school of thought will respect all as human beings, but he will tell that the rich man can become richer and richer based on his talent. He will also respect a poor man, but he will justify that the poor man will remain poor because he is lacking talent. So, this is the difference. All individuals considered equal, but it is considered based on the worth of the individual. Able to follow? Coming to substantive. Substantive takes into account the moral worth of mankind itself. The entire human community is taken into account as such. A scholar following this tradition will not accept the argument of the first scholar. He will tell that it is morally wrong to allow the rich to become more richer and allow the poor to remain poorer, because it takes into account the mankind as a unit. So this is the difference. So please understand that procedural takes into account individual, but substantive takes into account society. Okay? Take the NEET examination for example. Take the IAS examination. The procedural school of thought will tell that the IAS examination or the NEET examination is just, it is good, it is okay. Who will get selected in the IAS examination or the NEET examination? Individual who is having more talent, better intelligence and better skill compared to the other. Here the individual is taken into account. Moral worth is accepted. All IAS aspirants, all NEET aspirants are accepted as equals, are accepted as equal human beings, but the worth is taken into account based on the talent, skill, ability, intelligence, and the examination will be accepted as a just examination. The result will not be taken into account. 1,000 students may write the NEET exam, only 10 may pass, the rest will fail, but yet the procedural tradition will uphold the NEET examination or the IAS examination. It is not worried about the result. But the substantive tradition will take into account the moral worth of mankind. It will take morals into account, it will take the result into account. If 1,000 students write the IAS examination, only 10 may get selected, rest 990 may not get selected. But the substantive tradition will ask us to take the society into account. Many within the 990 who fail to get selected in the IAS examination, they may be from a backward socio-economic background. Their parents may be poor. As a result, they may be poor. They may not be able to obtain education on par with richer individuals. As a result, they may not be able to obtain the required skills, knowledge and ability to clear the IAS examination. So scholars following the substantive tradition will not accept, they won't accept NEET examination or the IAS examination as a just system, because they consider that society into account. Society is important for them. There are two associated concepts apart from what I explained so far. Procedural you have a concept called equality of opportunity. In substantive, you have a concept called equality of outcome. Here, opportunity is taken into account. Here, outcome or the result is taken into account. Here, equal opportunity is given for everyone to become unequal. Based on your talent, skill, knowledge, and ability, you can become unequal. You can become rich compared to the other. You can get more power compared to the other. You can get some privilege compared to the other. A youngster having more knowledge, ability, and intelligence can clear the IAS exam and become IAS officer, get more power, get more privilege compared to an ordinary man. So this is upheld by equality of opportunity, which follows the procedural tradition. Substantive follows the equality of outcome. It wants the result. Result is very important. As already mentioned, poor children may not be able to compete on par with richer students from elite background or from economically better background. Here the substantive scholar will go by the result. According to him, equality of opportunity alone is not important. Equality of outcome is important. So you have to study the individuals as a part of society. If certain individuals are backward, then it is the duty of the state to empower them. Got it, students? We will now study the important philosophies associated with procedural as well as substantive. When you study liberty from procedural perspective, liberty becomes negative liberty. When you study liberty from substantive perspective, it becomes positive liberty. According to negative liberty, the absence of restraints is the meaning. An individual should not be controlled. He can do whatever he wants. This concept is called negative liberty. Positive liberty means the freedom given to an individual should be properly used by the individual for self-development. He should use it to develop himself and also contribute to the society. This is called positive liberty. The philosophies associated with negative liberty are conservatism and liberalism. The philosophies associated with positive liberty are socialism and Marxism. Apart from socialism and Marxism, the other philosophies are feminism and communitarianism. You can also add multiculturalism. Please note it down. Procedural, the two important ones are conservatism and liberalism. Conservatism associated with scholars like Plato, right from ancient Greek philosophy. Plato himself was seen as a conservative. Conservatives, they don't want to change the society radically. They are called conservatives. Socialists and Marxists, they want to change the society radically. They want social control and ownership of the means of production. Liberals, they argue for individual liberty. As the name implies, they argue for personal liberty. They want freedom. They argue for rights. They argue for private property. When it comes to private property, both conservatives and liberals support the concept of private property. Conservatives and liberals support equality of opportunity. socialist, Marxist, feminist and others support equality of outcome. You have to associate accordingly. We already studied that. Equality of opportunity associated with procedural, equality of outcome associated with substantive. So please associate accordingly. The important scholars in conservative tradition, Plato. In fact, Plato considered as conservative as well as a progressive, but many people consider him a conservative. Conservatives support the status quo. They don't consider equality as desirable. For example, Plato considered the Greek citizens as superior. Even Aristotle held such a view. Aristotle told that men are superior compared to women as well as slaves. So they went for justifying the inequality during the ancient Greek period. The modern period, the important conservatives are Edmund Burke, and Tocqueville from France. Please note down the important ones. So the philosophers as well as ideologies and philosophies apply for all the 6 concepts. I will explain in common, then you have to apply it for all the 6 concepts. Liberalism, important scholars are Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, J.J. Rousseau. These are the important ones. They also put forward the social contract theory and the natural rights theory. John Locke called the father of liberalism. In the Indian context, Ambedkar can be considered a liberal. Amartya Sen is also a liberal. Gandhi more towards conservatism. In some areas he is also a liberal, but Gandhi is seen towards the conservative side. Socialism and Marxism, important scholars Karl Marx, Engels. Apart from Marx and Engels, there are many European scholars. They mainly belong to the social democracy and democratic socialism ideologies. R.H. Tawney, Harold Lasky, and C.B. Macpherson. These are the important ones. Feminism, important scholars Kate Millett, Shula Smith Firestone, before them the important scholar was Mary Wollstonecraft during the French Revolution. Communitarianism, important scholar is McIntyre, Alistair McIntyre. Alistair McIntyre. Multiculturalism, most important scholar is Will Kimlicka. Will Kimlicka from Canada. Much celebrated scholar, student of political science should definitely study Will Kimlicka. In the Indian tradition, the important scholar is Bhikkhu Pare. Robert Nozick, he can be classified under liberalism. Isaiah Berlin, he can also be classified under liberalism. I hope you have noted down the association of the 6 key concepts with important ideologies as well as the associated scholar. Ideology is nothing but a set of ideas, views, values, and opinions about reality. This is called ideology. Marxism, socialism, feminism, liberalism, conservatism are the important political ideologies. Apart from these, there are many other ideologies also. These ideologies and philosophers are common to all the six concepts. I have discussed liberty. I will now discuss the other five. Based on procedural and substantive, you have to apply the same scholars and the same ideologies. I hope that you are now able to connect all these elements together and build a framework. Next is equality. Equality seen through procedural is called formal equality. Equality seen through substantive is called foundational equality. Formal equality seen through rules, regulation, law. But foundational equality is seen through result. It is seen through morals. It takes into account entire mankind as the unit of analysis. Take the Indian society. If you apply the substantive school of thought, then the scholars will argue that India is yet to achieve foundational equality. They will tell that the Constitution of India provides only formal equality and not foundational equality. Next is justice. Justice seen through procedural is called procedural as such. Seen through substantive is called substantive. Rights seen through procedural is called legal rights. Rights seen through substantive is called moral rights. Here the rights are associated with law also. Rights seen through procedural is called legal, as I just told. It is associated with the positive law. Positive law is man-made law. But rights seen through procedural is called moral rights. It is associated with the natural law. There is a difference between natural law and positive law. Natural law is nothing but certain universal values present within human beings. It does not need any authority for enforcement. For example, around 10,000 years ago, there was no formal authority in the form of states. Human beings lived in the form of tribal societies, but yet they cultivated certain values. If a human being got injured, others went to help. One human being sacrificed for the other. The human beings in the tribal society used to go for hunting. If a wild animal tries to kill one member, another member may even sacrifice his life to save the member who is going to be killed. What is this? This is called natural law. So natural law is inherent in the human community. This concept is called natural law. Positive law is nothing but man-made law. Positive law is established in the modern period. Positive law itself is based on the foundation provided by natural law. Take the Indian state. We can see positive law through the Indian Constitution. But the positive law Indian Constitution itself is a reflection of the natural law. The Indian people, as a tradition, as a history, they have already developed some values like brotherhood, scientific temper, equality, fraternity, and so on. 2000 years ago, there were republican societies in India. There was democracy prevailing in India. So these values are reflecting in the positive law of the Indian state, which is the constitution. So natural law, substantive. Positive law, procedural. There is a popular saying which tells that ethics cannot be enforced by law. Ethics is actually present here. Law is actually present here. So if you have really imbibed universal values like love, brotherhood, sacrifice, equality, and so on, even in the absence of law, you will still follow it. Okay? So this is regarding rights. Democracy seen through procedural is called procedural democracy as such. It is called substantive democracy on the other side. But procedural democracy is associated with liberalism mainly. That is why the institution itself is called liberal democracy. Substantive democracy is mainly associated with socialism. Here it is called people's democracy. China calls itself a democracy. Indian people may laugh at this statement, but there is a truth in all points of view. So Chinese claim is based on their own perception of democracy. Chinese democracy is based on the concept of socialism. Liberal democracies like US, UK, Japan, France, and so on, it is not based on socialism. In liberal democracy, there is only political equality, but there is no economic equality. That is why the liberal democracy is not accepted by the socialist as a real democracy. They will laugh at the liberal democracy. Mao saw liberal democracy as a sham democracy, fake democracy, false democracy. On the other hand, people's democracy or substantive democracy argues for political equality as well as economic equality. Got it? According to Marxist and socialist, there won't be real equality if you don't have economic equality. There should be presence of both political equality and economic equality if you have to achieve real equality. They will explain this through the economic system. Take a simple example of a poor man. Liberal democracy will tell that the poor man is given equality. Why? They are happy if there is political equality. But the socialist will say that it is not real equality. According to procedural democracy, institutional liberal democracy, the poor man is still equal. He may not have money, he may not have food, but they will argue that he is equal to the king. But king will live in palace, poor man will live in the street. The poor man may have to die in hunger in the street itself, but this will not be taken into account by procedural democracy. But socialists will tell that economic equality is also important. The poor man is not economically equal to the king. Poor man does not have food, he will die if he is just led as such. So he should be economically empowered. Only then he will be politically empowered. Got it? This is the difference between substantive democracy and procedural democracy. As already mentioned, these concepts are interrelated to each other. If you take rights, some people consider only a human being as a moral entity. But some scholars even consider embryo as a moral entity. That is why they don't accept abortion. They don't accept research in stem cells and embryos. Got it? So we look at through both law as well as morality. The last concept is power. I already explained the concept of power. If you look at power through procedural, it is called power over. Power over. On the other hand, power seen through substantive is called power to. In international relations, power over is related with realism and power to is associated with idealism. When it comes to power, there is an intricate relationship with international relations, the third important subdivision within political science. So here it is realism, here it is idealism. We will first look into power over. As the name implies, power over means the ability of one man over another man. The domination of one man over another man. Okay? So power over is seen through the negative sense. It is seen through domination. It is seen through hegemony. It is seen through control. It is seen through big brother attitude. It is seen through conflict. It is seen through war. Feminists will not accept power over. They consider power over as patriarchy. Men dominate women. Men exploit women. They don't accept the concept of power over. The important scholars under power over tradition, there are many. Machiavelli himself come under power over tradition. Machiavelli, father of modern political science, he is a realist. He tells the ruler or the king to use power. Only with power, the ruler can ensure the interest and the security of the state. Okay, so this is power over. Apart from Machiavelli, Manu in the Indian tradition and Kautilya in the Indian tradition, they also support power over. Power over and power to cannot be strictly placed under procedural and substantive, but you can associate them roughly under procedural and substantive. So power over is a negative concept. It is seen through domination, oppression, control, hegemony. Coming to power to is in the positive sense. It is related to idealism. Idealism in international relation talks about cooperation between countries. Realism talks about power. It talks about maximization of self-interest through power. Idealism tells that it is optimistic that the countries of the world can work with each other. Okay, now what is power to? I explained power over. Power to means people coming together, collectively forming a group, and they are using power in a constructive manner for development. This is called power to. Got it? This is power seen through the positive sense. The important scholar in power to is Hannah Arendt. Hannah Arendt. The other scholars in power to are J.J. Rousseau, French philosopher, Enlightenment scholar. He spoke about the concept general will. According to J.J. Rousseau, power to is seen through the concept general will. You can note Rousseau also. J.J. Rousseau. Hannah Arendt, J.J. Rousseau, Gandhi, they all come under power to. Even Marx can be placed under power to. According to Karl Marx, all human beings will come together and cooperate with each other in the society called communist society. This is nothing but power to. He sees capitalist society as power over. In capitalist society, the owner of the means of production called bourgeois will dominate the worker or the laborer. Gandhi's concept of Ram Rajya or enlightened anarchy is also power to. Gandhi, like Marx, is opposed to the concept of the state. Gandhi will tell that there need not be state. State is associated with violence. Let's take the state away. But if you take the state away, who will control the people? Gandhi will tell that people themselves are capable of regulating themselves. Okay, you give liberty to the individuals. People have to use liberty properly. They have to go for self-restraint, and they have to develop themselves, empower themselves, and also contribute to the state. This is how Gandhi's philosophy is associated with power too. Similarly, J.J. Rousseau will tell that people voluntarily surrender power to the state, and as a result, their collective consent is seen in the form of a state. He calls this concept as general will. So, collective consent, people coming together, and collective realization of power for constructive purposes for development is power 2. So we have discussed the relationship between the concepts under the grid. The grid is nothing but political science. So if you are thorough with this grid, you can easily master the subject. You can easily cross 260 marks in the UPSC mains examination in the optional paper, political science and international relations. Thank you.